Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Carolyn Edwards, and this is Get Your Life. Have you ever sat in a space or a place or had a job or career that you were tired of, that you didn't like, that you didn't feel like it was the best job for you? Well, we have a treat for you today because if you have ever wanted to pivot and do something else with your life, we have John Dixon Jr., who's actually done it, and he's going to tell us how to pivot, how to stay with purpose, how to pivot with resilience, and not give up. So let's welcome John Dixon Jr. to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate you thinking enough of me to invite me on the show.
You are special. I'm going to tell the audience you are Johnny John. This is Johnny John. He has done some amazing things, and now you're doing something else. So tell us how you started. Like, give us some ideas. What kind of careers have you had? What have you done?
Actually, when I moved to Miami, I moved here in 1984, and I started as a classroom school teacher with Miami-Dade Public Schools.
Who knew that?
Moved here in November. School had already started. Got a classroom around Thanksgiving and stayed until the school year was out. And I figured out early that wasn't something that I really, really wanted to do.
Okay.
Nothing against school teachers because I think they are the best, and none of us could have anything without them.
Amen.
Without an early, development of reading and writing and so on.
Right.
But I figured out that I wanted to do something else. And
but what did that feel like? Because
being a classroom teacher?
Well, what did it feel like when you knew you wanted to do something else? Because a lot of times people just keep doing what they're doing because we say that's a good job. You shouldn't quit that job. But what did that feel like? How did you know you wanted to do something else?
I was very lucky. When I got here, I had an early mentor.
Okay.
It was my father-in-law.
All right.
And at the time, he was deputy superintendent of schools. And to be very honest with you, I was able to benefit because of that.
Okay.
He introduced me to so many people, and being a political science student, major in college, I wanted to get not necessarily into politics, but something into government.
All right.
And I was able to meet a guy named Israel Milton, who was his friend, but also became my mentor. Israel was the director of the Department of Human Resources, which is not personnel.
Okay.
It's a human resources, social services department for the county, which is now morphed into something else. But anyhow, I had some conversations with him, and I just plain asked him, give me an overview from your perspective, because he had been in the county for years. And we talked, and he asked me what did I really want to do, and I told him that I wanted to get into county government. Didn't know where, didn't know, all the departments. But as I said, I was very fortunate to meet if you will, the right people to help me with my career. Now, one thing I did tell him is that no one can physically help me.
What did you mean by that?
Given the opportunity, because he said, young people, and at that time I was considerably younger. I had black hair then.
Well, at least you still have hair.
I do. Thank you. But he said young people want to do everything by themselves.
Really?
And we knew some of the same people. And he said, if I were to help you, would it be because I know some of the same people you do? I said, absolutely, I would think that. Because you don't know me. But those people cannot do the work for me.
Of course.
So I started with him in his office to develop actually, it was like a year-long program. It was called the Nonviolent Mother's Day Weekend.
Wow.
And we took a look at crime on Mother's Day weekend, and we got all these entities together, the clergy, school system, private sector, to put a halt to crime just that one weekend.
Day. Wow.
That one weekend on Mother's Day. So that was my first project. It was a major project. I was green as the grass. I didn't know all these folks in Dade County. And it worked. I mean, I think I coordinated that at least about 4 times.
Wow. So when you took that job, so I'm trying to help people understand that one of the things that helped you, you said, was a mentor.
Absolutely.
And then you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do, but at least you had some direction you wanted to go.
Well, with that project, it introduced me to a ton of people. I just described some of the entities that were a part of that nonviolent weekend.
Right.
So I got a chance to meet people that I probably ordinarily would not have met just in my day-to-day work from different areas, like I said, criminal justice and so on. So I got interested in economic development from that. I left that office and I moved to minority business development, which is now another name.
Right.
But worked with architects and engineers, attempting to do work with the county through that office.
Okay.
So that led to something else.
Okay. What was the something else?
This is far from that. It led me working for a drug rehab center.
Oh my goodness.
In the county.
So how did that go along with the government and what you wanted to do?
Well, it was a county agency within the government. It was called Orson Office of Rehab Services. Again, under Israel Milton.
Okay.
That office was. And I would have what I'd call these fireside chats with Israel.
Okay.
And he said, I have an opportunity. He says, I know you've never done any social service work. You're always administrative type. But I got a job for you if you think this is something that you might want to do. Plus, it was more money. That always helps, right?
Yes, that's an incentive.
So I did it, and it was a rewarding experience. I met so many people again, because I've always considered that's my strong point, people.
That's what I was going to ask you. Okay, so sometimes it's not necessarily the job title or the physical job. It's what's intrinsic to you. So you always like people, or you always get along with people, or
got along with people from kid jobs, like taking home little old ladies. Groceries in my red wagon. Of course, you had to talk with them along the way. I worked retail while I was in college. Once again, you had to interact with people. So I found that was probably my strongest suit. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't proclaim that. But I do think that it takes some type of skill to deal with a variety of people.
Right. I agree with that. And I know you, and like I said, Johnny John, and I feel like that is one of your skill sets. Like you, I don't care who it is, young, old, whatever. It just seems like you make them comfortable because you like people.
Absolutely.
So as you move through the different positions, you knew something about yourself. I like people. I want to stay in the government. So then let's go past a few. So you got the MD.
Got to MD through what was prior to MD, Metro Miami Action Plan.
Okay. Metro Miami Action Plan, was that another person that helped you get there?
What was very interesting about that, as I mentioned to you, and I might mention it several times.
Okay.
Israel Milton.
Okay.
So I kind of called him off the street. You know, I made a call because someone told me to, can I have a meeting with you, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I met him, he was as I mentioned, the director of the Department of Human Resources.
Right.
But they had just started what was called the Metro Miami Action Plan, MAP.
Okay.
So he was the interim director of that department until they hired a full-time person. So when I called him and I went to meet with him, I met with him at the MAP office.
Okay.
No idea that years later, I'd be sitting in the same seat that he sat in.
He sat in, right.
And sometimes I have to pinch myself. But anyway, started with MAP as the deputy director, a guy named a guy named Milton Vickers, who's another mentor, hired me, and you know, we did housing initiatives, economic development initiatives, had something called Teen Court, which is giving young people a second chance. And as things progressed, within MAP. MAP moved on to, as you just mentioned, MD.
MD, yes.
I think that was 2008 June.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Audrey Edmondson, who's always been a strong supporter of MAP and MD, saw the need to take a look at what MAP was doing, how it was doing, why it was doing, and the name.
Right.
Got 12 people from leaders, rather, from the Miami-Dade County, and divided them. So we kept the business of MAP going with 6, and then the other 6 took a look at what I just mentioned, our name, why we do how we do. And that's how we morphed into MAP, into MD. Kind of a same mission, but a bit more economic development driven from MAP to MD.
Right. So, and I keep coming back. I want to keep circling back because I want people to know how to pivot. And you said having a mentor has been very important to you. And then I'm also trying to help them to understand what's the internal signal. So before you went to MD, did you outgrow? Were you looking to, you said one job paid more money, but was it an environment? Sometimes we want to level up. What was going on with you that made you want to move?
Well, sometimes money is not the basis for everything.
Right.
It definitely helps, particularly you have a family and other responsibilities. But I knew that I did not want to make a career out of rehab services.
Right.
I wanted to get into more of a administrative position, and with MAP, I was able to do that. But what really allowed me to pivot is knowing a great deal about county operations. Because at MAP, we interfaced with a variety of departments. So what I will say is when you are in a position, it's always a good idea to learn as much as you can, given the size of the county.
Right.
I forget how many departments we had back then. But it's always good to keep your eyes open and ears open for other areas within a entity. You may not be an expert in the county attorney's office because you're not a lawyer, but it's good to know people there, because if you have questions, you can run things by people. With MAP, knowing the county, and I had been there for quite some time, it was an asset to MAP because I knew the inner workings of the county. So pivoting to me means, again, keeping your eyes and ears open for another possibility that in most cases you may not even know that's down the road.
Right. Or meeting people that you never think about. One thing I find is that, like you said, with your mentor, who knew that you would have their job? It's just you kind of go with it.
Farthest thing from my mind that day, that years later, as I mentioned, that I'd be sitting in the same seat.
Right. So if we had to have a takeaway from that, what would we call that? Keeping your eyes open, enjoying people, maybe seizing the moment, taking it all in. What would we call that?
It's called being naive, unaware. But keeping, again, keeping your eyes and ears open, no matter what level you are.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
Because the level does not dictate where you're going.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, again, I never thought that. When I worked with Israel Milton on that nonviolent weekend, that department got a grant to do the nonviolent weekend that was funded by MAP. And I had to give monthly updates of how we were using the money for this event and so on and so forth. And as I said, it was a year-long event. So that was like at least 11 monthly meetings that I had to present. So the people in those meetings, I got to know.
Right. And it also fueled, you said you want to do administrative, so writing reports and things like that. So keep your eyes open.
And ears.
And ears, have a mentor. And I will, on that mentor part, how did you find somebody? Well, you said your father-in-law helped you, but how do you find somebody that cares enough? Because the mentor have to care enough about you.
I would encourage you to pick a mentor.
To pick somebody and go after him and say, "Hey, John, will you mentor me?"
Well, you can say that, okay. But I think developing a relationship with that person, in order for someone to want to mentor you, they have to get to know you.
Right.
You may not be that person that they even want to be around.
Right. Hey.
But
it's true.
But again, they have to get to know you. And to me, getting to know someone of that level is not always just work.
Right.
I was fortunate enough again to get invited to this guy's house, Israel Milton, many times for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go. And we would not talk about work at all. He and his wife, my wife, we would sit and talk and laugh and all that. But seldom was it about work.
Was it about work? So don't be pushy.
Don't be pushy. But also, I'll say, listen more than talk.
Listen more than talk. And maybe I would even venture to say, if you, when people feel like you're just coming to get something from me,
they
be
can tell.
interested in them too.
But also they can tell, I think, people can tell if you're coming to get something from them.
Right.
In a using kind of way.
Yes.
You have to be genuine.
Yes.
But if you're going to select a mentor, you have to bring something to the table.
I like that. Okay, so don't just think I'm going to pour into you. No. You have to have something that you're giving back to them.
Sure.
So it's kind of reciprocal. Sure. So one of the problems I see that people have, they get comfortable. And when it's time to leave, they don't leave. How did you have the courage to go from one to the next?
I remembered one of my professors at Johnson C. Smith University, a guy named Dr. Sichi, and we talked about sentimental subjectivity. And that means what you just said, getting comfortable, and when the opportunity arises, you don't take advantage of it because you've been in that position for so long. He gave us the example in class about you working on the assembly line at a car manufacturer. You're one of the workers. Well, now you have an opportunity to be the foreman on that line.
Okay.
Now, these guys and women are your friends.
Right.
As the foreman, you become
their boss.
Their boss.
Right.
Some people wouldn't take advantage of that because of their comfortability
with the friendship.
Right. So you have to look past that. You can move on and do other things, knowing one, where you came from,
right,
but two, having the guts and the will,
right,
to say, and again, as I told Israel, I said, I'm not just a day-to-day person.
Right.
This is my career.
Exactly.
I said, some people are here just to come to work, get a check, and it's fine. I mean,
if that's
what you want.
Yes, if that's what you want.
But in terms of being that at that moment, like 20-something, and thinking about, down the road,
right,
I was trying to build a career.
So that's another good point. To have a vision for some. You may not know exactly each position, but you had some items on your vision list. I want to do something in government. I know I want to build a legacy, or I don't want to just stay in a job.
And that may change.
Right.
That should be all fluid.
Yes.
It may change
it could.
Because you don't know everything.
That's right. But at least you have some thought that I want to grow. It could be something as simple as that. I want to spend a few years here. This is something I want to learn. And then I want to learn something else.
If I can add, and I'm going to try to be quick on this one. You use your phone often for GPS.
Yes.
And it takes you. So oftentimes it won't show you road work. Right. Or in Miami, sometimes it won't show you that there's a lake in the middle of a neighborhood. Right. So you have to figure out, once you get to that, you have to detour around that to get either one, back on track, or two, to look at something else.
Right.
That you may have never thought of.
Right.
So Pivoting, it's, I think you have to think about it, but you should always have a plan.
Right.
And if your plan doesn't work, fine.
That's okay.
At least you got a plan.
At least you have a plan.
Right.
At least you have some direction.
Sure.
At least you have some things you want to accomplish. So I just want to tell the audience that Mr. John Dixon, you talk about guts. Have you been doing the jazz in the yard? So I call it the jazz in the yard because he has bands in his backyard, and we come and we enjoy it, and you give the musicians an opportunity, you give us an opportunity. Where did that come from? Where did you get the guts to do it? How did that start?
Well, I can't tell you the real story.
Well, give us something.
Let me just say this. At one point, organization that I was heavily involved in was looking at doing an event. And we looked at the Deering estate. Well, members of the group did not. Some did. Most did not want to do that. And this was going to be a signature project for us.
Okay.
Guys didn't want to do it. Fine. Put together a business plan, how much we were going to make, how much it took to do it.
Right.
So we didn't do it. Years go by. Years go by. And I'm literally in my backyard doing some yard work.
Okay.
And all these meteors you hear on the news that are surfacing right now, it was like a meteor hit me. And I said, I bet I can do this at my house.
Right.
So just started planning. And I think the first year, I was in Wynwood, saw a group I like. Max Farber was his name. He's playing everything from Maxwell to Herbie Hancock. I approached him. He came. We probably had maybe about 50 people.
Okay.
That has grown to over 200.
I was going to say, we're in the alley. It has expanded. I even pass out the flyers now because it's more than just the jazz in the yard. I actually met someone I went to high school with. I'm like, how does that happen? She sat right in front of me. We graduated the same year
and
from Washington, D.C. Neither one of us are born and raised here. How does that happen? Just the richness of the people, the richness of the music.
One of your pickleball friends.
My pickleball friend.
That you didn't know was there.
Exactly. So how does that happen? How did you keep going? Because I'm sure it was a lot of work and it wasn't easy. And you probably had some problems and things. Because I'm thinking, how do you get your neighbors to say yes with all the cars and the traffic and the noise? How did you do that?
Well, one, you have to be a neighbor.
Okay, that's good.
You have to. And my wife always tells me, to have a friend, you have to be a friend.
You have to be a friend. That's been the Bible.
So, I know everybody on my block. Not that I, knock on their door every day, but we see each other.
Right.
And I couldn't live in a neighborhood, or I wouldn't want to live in a neighborhood where I don't talk to my neighbors.
Yeah, you don't know.
So anyhow, thought about all the pieces it would take to do this. As it grew, I would tell my neighbors, it's that time of year. And we do charge for people to get in. Right. They were all free. And it's crazy because there's a wood fence that separates my house and my neighbor's house on the west side of my house. They have about 50 people in their yard.
They have a party, a jazz party. I see them with food. I see them putting their heads over the fence. Y'all are talking. They are jamming.
They help me put the lights up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it just grew. To be honest with you, I did not have a plan at my house. My plan was to remove it from my backyard and take it to a park which involves a lot more stuff.
Of course, yeah.
I did kind of a poll with people,
I
and
like the yard.
you and everybody else.
I like the yard because it's more intimate, it's more personal, and it's just the people that are supposed to be there.
And it's more than the music.
It's more than the music.
It's about people getting together.
It is. And I met so many people. I went to Howard University with. We were talking about what year we went, what school we were in, which one was the real HU.
Right,
I love it. So it's so much more. We have friends that come from DC every year, and then they bring people. So we have made friendships, and it's family.
This year we had folks, in addition to DC folks, I think as far west was Denver and LA, Pocono Mountains, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, New York.
Wow.
Just, you know, and folks come with the idea of the music, but seeing other people that they don't see normally throughout the year.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to go back to, I always tell people, in order to do something great, in order to do something different, you have to press beyond the pressures. You have to press beyond the problems. What problems did you have as you've been the 15 years? You can give a couple. And then how did you, was it the vision that kept you moving forward? Like, what is it that made you keep going?
One, being a lover of music. And I'm sure you're aware, I do a jazz show on the radio, WDNA.
Yes.
Always been like that in terms of music. My dad and I grew up in Buffalo. My dad and I, particularly during the winter, we'd watch Wide World of Sports. Many folks out there have no idea what that is, but there was a sports show on ABC.
Right.
We had a local jazz radio show in Buffalo. I was a kid. Well, he would have beer and I'd have an Orange Crush.
Okay.
And we'd watch the television with no volume, except the jazz that was on the radio.
Wow.
And that was like our Sunday thing. So, but my love of music was always there. And luckily my friends, and they say, surround people, like people around you.
Right.
Well, the like people around me, we always like music. Never thought of down the road that this kind of activity would happen at my home. But just basic, it was being a lover of music.
So the love of music, and this is important too, because you said you had that with your dad. So you had that. So when you retired from government, people probably were looking at you like, what are you doing? Why are you a DJ now? How does that fit together? How do the two fit together?
When I was working, and I spent 35 years in Miami-Dade County, on Fridays, strawberries.
Oh, wow. I hear about strawberries a lot.
That was like the place back then. That
was a spot.
Fridays after work from 5 until 8:30, I would DJ. And back then I was playing albums. So you know how far back that goes. So anyhow, this young guy walked in with a bag of albums. I didn't know him. He was considerably younger than me. I thought he was a pain in the butt for showing up with these albums. Like, who are you to bring me some music? And he told me his name, and I knew his brothers. I'd never met him because he was so much younger. So later on in life, years go by, he started working at WDNA doing drive time from 3 p.m. until 7. So I would leave the government center after work, and I'd drive down to DNA, which wasn't far from downtown, to just hang out with him. And I got to know the people there just from hanging out. Continue to build my music collection since I have had access to the music. And one day, a little prior to that, you posed a question about how, or I forget how you posed it. But anyway, when I thought that I was going to retire, I said, God, I really want to do something that I would do for free.
All right.
I said, there has to be something. And the only thing I could come up with was, again,
Music, yes.
And I said, wow, I said, I have access to DNA. Even if I could just catalog music, because we still have CDs.
Right.
If I could do something, I could do. If I could just clean the floors up. And lo and behold, a guy who I had not met in person had a show on Thursday and Friday mornings. Guy named Mike, I forget Mike's last name now. But I'd call him sometime. Hey, man, that's a nice tune. Who is that? He'd say, blah. Had never. So right at that time, I got the opportunity to do a show called Jazz from the Hampton House.
Wow.
Which is a historic building here in Miami, back during segregation. That's where folks on this side of the causeway went to hang out. And they asked me if I'd like to do a show to promote the Hampton House. Sure, at WDNA.
Right.
As I said, we go there after work, knew the people. It just all connected.
Right.
And then later on, the guy just mentioned Mike. Unfortunately, he passed. And I got a call asking me if I'd like to do his show.
Wow.
And I said, absolutely. Scared a little bit.
Right.
A little uncertain. But settled in very quickly, knowing how to operate the boards, because I had done the Jazz from the Hampton House. But back then, that was an hour show. What I do now is a 4-hour show.
Right. So like you said, there are some fears there. Again, I feel like that's the part of the process. You feel the fear, but you move forward
You jump in the pool.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling everybody who can't swim to jump in the pool. But no, I mean, you kind of jump in.
Right.
And hopefully in most cases it works.
It worked out. Yeah. So give me 3 things. So as we're talking about pivoting and persistence and mentors, jumping into the pool, if you had to give somebody 3 things that wants to change something in their life, they want to do something they love and love what they do, what advice would you give them?
First thing I'd say, find something again that you would do for free.
For free? Okay.
Because more than likely, you're going to do that well.
Right.
Secondly, try to find people that can help you get there.
Okay.
Not in a sense of using them.
Right.
Because earlier, as I said, you got to bring something to the table.
Of course, yes.
But you got to find a path. You got to find some avenue to get there. And you may not know. But in most cases, you're going to know someone, or someone is going to know someone.
Right.
The last thing is you have to be sometimes a thorn in somebody's side.
Pain in the butt.
You have to be a pain in the butt. Really. And you have to say, I'm going to do this. And the way I need to get there is I have to be persistent. I'm not the only person who wants to do this. I got a friend right now.
Exactly.
I got a friend right now in D.C., retired from FBI, who would love to do a show on a station called WPFW.
Oh, I know WPFW, yeah.
You know them. So I encouraged him. I said, you're not the only person, I'm sure, who wants to do this.
Of course.
You should set your phone same day every month to call them and say, hey.
That's a good idea.
Or come in and say, I want to volunteer. There's something at this radio station I can do other than being on the air.
Right.
And hopefully people get to know you. They feel comfortable with you. Right. And hopefully things move on.
And they see you want more than just, some people just want to be seen. And I think in our culture with social media and everything, it's just like I want to be seen. And if you have a platform, I want to get on your platform, but I'm not going to bring anything to the table.
What do you bring?
Right.
One last thing I'd add to those 3 things.
Okay.
I'd add the 4th one, and I mentioned earlier, is to listen.
I like that.
You don't have to be the smartest person in the room all the time.
Right.
Or that mouthpiece.
Right.
You got to listen to see where people are. And most cases, I think you have to meet people where they are.
Amen. Well, tell the audience how they can find you.
They can contact me. My contact information would be dixonjazznut@comcast.net.
Okay.
I would encourage everybody to check out WDNA 88.9. That is your community radio station. It's a community station, public station. So we're the only jazz station here in South Florida.
And what time is your show?
7 a.m. until 11, Thursdays and Friday mornings.
Okay, so you heard him. Tune in to his show and check him out. Love the music. Again, this is Get Your Life. I'm Dr. Carolyn Edwards. Don't forget to get the podcast on Apple and Spotify, as well as check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com at Dr. Carolyn Edwards. Get all the replays of Get Your Life. And I always say, in a world where you can be anything, the best thing you can be is yourself. Absolutely. Until next time.
I know it gets hard to find the light sometimes. It feels easier to hold on to what's been keeping you down. You were made to fly, so now release, let it go. You were made to soar, so just breathe. Feel your power, learn to dance in the rain or the shine.